We are going to talk about the biggest wealth building tool that you and I as Canadians have access to. And no, it's not real estate. So let's get started. So in today's video, we'll be talking about tax-free savings account. If it's a very basic video for you, feel free to not watch this, but I'm going to talk about what TFSA is, what are the watchouts, what contribution limits do we have, where do I invest money in TFSA, and all that good stuff. So first, let's talk about the basics of tax-free savings account. And no, it's not a savings account. I don't understand why it's called tax-free savings account. It should be called tax-free investment account in my in my view, because if you just save your money in a tax-free savings account, there is absolutely no benefit. Because the way TFSA works is, let's say you invest $100 and that $100 grows to $200, the capital gain that you have of $100, you do not pay tax on that. Now, if you only save money in this account and the $100 remains $100, you actually did not gain any advantage. So the $100 has to grow in order for us to have an advantage, and therefore it's not a savings account. You have to and you should invest money when you put money into TFSA. All the capital gains are tax-free, like I discussed in my $100 example. We'll talk about that, more about that in the subsequent slides. And no, you should not invest high-risk funds like Bitcoin. There are Bitcoin ETFs and there are Ethereum ETFs, and there are all sorts of risky asset classes which are available now to invest through TFSA. And when you are investing for retirement, it's important that we do not take any risk with that money, because if that money goes away for any reason, we just don't have anything left. Three very important points that I wanted to discuss about TFSA. The fourth one, which is not here, is that, if you have a doubt of whether to invest in TFSA or RRSP, I actually made a video, an entire flowchart on how to invest. But TFSA for sure is the first account that should always max out, and then look at RRSP, then look at other vehicles or non-registered accounts. But TFSA is the first account that should always be maxed out, and the reason is very obvious, that all the returns, all the gains that you have are tax-free, and that's a massive advantage that you'll have on recession. All right, let's talk about TFSA limits, because you cannot invest into TFSA unlimited. I wish that was a possibility, because all my investments will be in TFSA because it's tax-free when you take out the money at retirement. But 2009, if you came before 2009 and you were still 18 years old, your overall contribution limit till date is $102,000. That's a massive confusion that people have, that people think that there's a contribution limit, lifetime contribution limit of $102,000, but that's not the case. It's only from 2009 when the rule came into play, the TFSA account was made, until 2025, which is now. And it's now that I think of it, it was the conservatives who actually made TFSA, which is the biggest wealth building tool. But I don't want to be political in this video. Anyways, that was a side note. Coming back here, so this is not a lifetime limit. So what that means is that you can actually invest $7,000 or whatever the limit for that year is for the foreseeable future, and there's absolutely no lifetime limit if you came like me after 2009. That's a massive confusion that people have. Please don't have that. And if you feel that I'm wrong, I would encourage you to go to Canada.ca website and look at TFSA, and you will know that I am absolutely right here. Because in the past, a lot of people have criticized me in the comments that there's a limit, but it's not. Let me explain how these limits work. So from 2009 to 2012, the 4 years that when the TFSA started, it was $5,000 per year per person. So in your family, if there are two people, you can just multiply it by 2. And then 2013-14, it was $5,500. There was 1 year where conservatives were going away, and they actually came up with $10,000 per year. But when liberals came, it was again reduced to $5,500. And it has now increased to $7,000 for the last 2 years. Now, if I calculate this for myself, who came in 2020. So 2020 comes between this 2019 to 2022, where the limits were $6,000 per year. So for the year 2020, 21, 22, it was $6,000 into 3, which is $18,000. So for those 3 years, I have a $6,000 multiplied by 3, $18,000 of limit. For 2023, the limit increased to $6,500. So that's just 1 year. So $6,500 added to my contribution. And then 2024 to 2025, it's $7,000 multiplied by 2 again, because it's 2 years. That comes to 14,000. If you add this all up, it's 38,500, which is my contribution limit until 2025. end of 2025. If I multiplied this by 2, because Simran has the same contribution limit, we both came in 2020, and it counts when you came, not when you filed your taxes. That's RRSP, right? So this is when you came to Canada, when you landed in Canada, and it counts your contribution limit from that year. You multiplied by 2, which is $77,000, and that's our contribution limit as a family as of 2025. You can do it for yourself. The chart was that. So $77,000 is converted into $91,000 because I've been investing since we came, not 2020 but 2021. We were doing it little by little, but now our accounts are maxed out. The TFSA accounts are maxed out. The last $1,000 actually went the last month, and that has grown to $91,000. That's the other misconception that people have. If the limit that we have is $77,000 until 2025, it doesn't mean that we cannot have $91,000. This is the growth, and that growth is tax-free. Our contributions should be limited to $77,000. Our growth can be unlimited. I just wanted to make that clear. My contribution was $77,000. I'll just explain the difference between investing in TFSA versus if you do a non-registered account, which is not TFSA. That basically means that you'll be taxed if you take out money from the non-registered account. I want to explain the difference between the two. The portfolio has grown to $91,000, like you can see, in my Blossom chart. By the way, this is the app that I have here is Blossom. It's an amazing social media platform for investors. I would highly encourage you to download that. It's not a sponsored video, but if you want to look at other portfolios of other influencers, or you want to put your portfolio here and compare against what other people are doing, there are over 250,000 people who are on this app, and it's absolutely free to download. The link is in the bio. Not a sponsored video, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone is there on this amazing app. The gain here is 91 minus 77, which is about $14,500. Now, if I take this money out of TFSA, I do not get taxed at all, because that's the whole purpose of tax-free savings account. And I cash out the entire $14,439 plus my principal of $77,000, of course. Now, if I take this money out of a non-registered account, if I was not putting it in a TFSA and I was investing through a non-registered account, which is a normal account, normal investing account, I would not be taxed on 50%. So 7219, which is basically half of 14,439, I will not be taxed on this. However, I will be taxed on the other 50%, and I'll be taxed at about 40% depending on your income. So my income bracket is a little bit lower. Average income brackets would be about 33 to 40%. I've taken for this example 40% tax bracket. So you will only keep 60% of the 7219. So remember, for the first 50%, you do not get taxed at all. For the next 50%, you get taxed as per your tax bracket, and that would leave you with 4,331 after tax. And if you add these two up, you are cashing out $11,551 and paying a tax of $2,887. That's how capital gain tax works. You do not pay any taxes on the first 50% of your gains, and you only pay taxes as per your tax bracket on the other 50%. So if you look at it here, you have unnecessarily paid $3,000 to CRA. By not utilizing the tax-free savings account. That's the reason why I always tell people to max it out, to make sure that you're doing TFSA, and that's the biggest wealth building tool, because it's not just compounding your money, but it's also doing it tax-free. Now, let's say you invest for 25 years. The numbers actually get crazier from here. Now, I'll give my example from 2020 to 2025, so the last 4-5 years. My money invested, the money that I invested that I showed in the last chart, maxing out our TFSAs, is $77,000. If I keep that money invested for the next 25 years, so the 5 years that it has already been there and grown to about 91, 92, and the next 25 years it stays invested, the $77,000 will grow to at 8% year on year. It will be more than that, I'm hoping, but let's take 8% year on year. It will compound to $626,000. That's the amount of capital gain that you're looking at. And if you don't do it through a tax-free savings account, you'll be paying a tax on that. 2026 to 2050, let's say we each, me and Simran, invest $7,000 per year, and we keep on maxing out our TFSA. Obviously, TFSA limits can change, but I have to make an assumption, and I'm making an assumption that it stays at 7,000. I think it will increase with inflation, but it's guesswork. I don't know. So that money invested will be about $350,000. That's $14,000 invested for 25 years. If you do the math, it will be close to $350,000. And that money will compound to over $1 million in these 25 years. And if you look at this, I'll be left with about $1.7 million if I max out my TFSAs from the time I came to Canada till the time, like I'm retiring. So that's 30 years from when I came to Canada. And the numbers are pretty massive. If you do it through TFSA, you do not pay any taxes. But if you do it through non-registered account, you pay over $300,000 in taxes. So it's a no-brainer, absolute no-brainer to use TFSA. But again, you're not paying $300,000 because you're not taking out the $1.6 million altogether. I hope you don't. But usually the rule says that you take out 4% every single year. That's the rule of 4. So let's say you have $1.7 million in retirement. You take 4% every single year, and hopefully that money that you have grows by over 4%, and therefore you never exhaust those funds. Theoretically, that's the rule of 4. Now, if you take 4% of this, that will be $67,750 per year, and you will be paying $0 tax if you take it out from TFSA. But if you take it out from a non-registered account, you'll be taxed 4110 because again, it's capital gains. You don't get taxed on 50% anyways, and the capital gain taxes are lower than your normal salary taxes, and you'll be taking out you'll still be paying about $4,000 in taxes if you do not do it through TFSA. That's the reason why, again, I'm saying repeatedly, if you're not maxing out your TFSAs, you are making a massive mistake, because you will be paying a lot of taxes if you don't do that. Now, next up, let's talk about how to invest your money, and you just download the Wealthsimple app. I'm showing you on the screen. I'll show you my account, and you go to Wealthsimple, and there'll be add an account. If you don't have any account, it'll just show you on the menu, it'll show add an account. You just add an account, open a new account, and there are a bunch of accounts here. Just say TFSA, save for any goal, earnings are tax-free. And then you go to registered savings account, and then you open your account. And obviously I can't do it because I already have an account, or maybe it'll allow me to do it. But I already have an account here. That's how you open an account. That's how simple it is. And the reason why I use Wealthsimple is because it allows me to do fractional buying. So if you look at $14,000, it comes to about $1167 per month. If there are two people who are investing and maxing out their TFSs, it comes to about $1,167 per month. Now, I want to make sure that I don't do it manually. I do it in an automated way, and Wealthsimple allows for both. First of all, I can do recurring deposits. I can set it weekly. I can do it monthly. I do it weekly, for instance, and I can just do $250 a week or whatever it comes to. You can do the math. And the other thing is that you can actually do it in a fractional way. What I mean by that is you can actually buy 0.5 of a share. You don't have to buy a whole share. So I'll give you an example here. So let's go to my TFSA. All right. And let's say I have to buy VFV. And I'll click on buy. And I do, let's say, if you go here, you will see that you can do fractional shares on market. And then I say that I want to buy for $100, and it'll actually help me buy 0.732 shares of VFE. At the same time, if you go on again the right top right, if you go, you can actually do recurring also. So let's say I do recurring. Recurring basically means that I need to do it every week or every month. Let's say I'm doing $583 or 1167, whatever it is. Let's say the whole of the money is being invested in VFE. I can actually attribute a start date. I can do it weekly. I can do it monthly. For this example, let's do monthly. And I can actually just add a funding source. So you can either do it, whatever account, you feel you can just attach to it, and you're doing it in TFSA, and you review it, and then you just hit on confirm. It's as simple as that to use Wealthsimple, and I'd highly encourage you to do that. Now, you can use other platforms like Questrade, but it does not allow for fractional shares on every share, like Wealthsimple allows on every single ETF and share most of the times. But with Questrade is only, I think, US stocks. On the other hand, it does not allow you to do recurring automated purchases as well. So that's the reason why I love Wealthsimple. Plus, if you're buying Canadian stocks and ETFs or US stocks and ETFs which are listed on the Canadian stock market, there's absolutely no fee irrespective of the platform that you use, Questrade or Wealthsimple. Therefore, Wealthsimple is simple, and therefore I just invest through Wealthsimple. And I would encourage you to not complicate this matter, looking at different videos and different people, and just start and you can always change as you go. The next question a lot of people ask is where to invest. I made an entire video of how I invest $5,000 every single month. I've made a couple of videos on that. But let's assume that you're only investing and maxing out your TFSAs. That's all the investing that we are doing. One person, if you are single, it'll be $583 per month, which is basically 7,000 divided by 12. And if you are two people, it'll be about $1,166 per month. I would keep it very, very simple. I'll do 50% VFV, which is S&P 500, top 500 companies in the US, and 50% of the money will go into XQQ, which is basically NASDAQ 100. These are the top 100 non-financial companies in the US. And that's how simple I'll keep it, because overcomplicating this would not serve you anything. And the reason why I say that is if you overcomplicate and you do not invest because you are still researching, I'll tell you how much it costs to do that. Let's assume you started last year investing $1,167 per month in your TFSA. Let's assume that you have not invested anything or you have just invested a little bit. But let's assume that you started last year, 12 months from now. In 30 years, at 8% year-on-year return, you would end up with $1.65 million. At 10% year-on-year return, you'll end up with about $2.4 million. So that's if you started investing last year for the next 30 years. Now that you've wasted 1 year, and I'm not being rude or anything, I'm just giving an example. If you wasted 1 year in overthinking, overcomplicating, peak of the market, like we do that, right? So it's very common. Let's assume you start today. Instead of doing it last year, you started today, 12 months late. It's $1,167 a month again. In 29 years, because you have 1 year less to invest because age doesn't stop, you have to retire at a set age. In 29 years at 8%, you would have $1.5 million. So another about $130,000, $140,000 lower if you had started last year. And in 30 years at 10%, you would have $2.2 million roughly. That basically means that if you did not invest for the last 1 year, you already lost $234,000 of tax-free money. That's how much overcomplicating and researching and overthinking costs you. Now, the whole intention of making this video was that this is how simple investing in TFSA is. You do not need to overcomplicate. I hope you liked the video. And if you still don't invest in TFSA, I don't know what will make you invest. I really hope you do, because that's the whole purpose of this channel. If you like this video, do share it with a friend. मिलते हैं अगले वीडियो में, तब तक के लिए bye bye.